Independent MP Jane Philpott is now saying the Prime Minister violated federal law when he kicked her and Jody Wilson-Raybould out of caucus. Will the Speaker of the House rule in her favour, and what would that mean? Joining us with a closer look is Craig Scott, law professor at Osgoode Hall Law School and former NDP MP. Thank you for being here today.
Glad to be here, Ben.
Okay, so Philpott argues that Trudeau's decision to expel her was a breach of the Parliament of Canada Act. So let's get into the weeds a little bit. What does that mean? What's she referencing?
In 2014 or 15, a section was inserted that basically said each caucus, party caucus, had to vote on a series of rules related to caucus governance.
And that included expelling members?
Including the rules on expelling and readmitting. And her claim appears to be that the Liberals did not even carry out the vote. And there's a duty to actually report to the Speaker the outcome of the vote. And we don't know what was actually said to the Speaker.
Well, Trudeau said, and here's a quote, "The will of caucus was very, very clear that they wanted the two individuals removed from caucus." So if it's proven that this act was indeed violated and no vote was held by the Liberals, can Philpott and Wilson-Raybould, would they automatically be readmitted into caucus?
No, it's not it's a lot messier than that. A lot of it has to do with how far the Speaker's willing to go, and the signals are not very far.
Yeah.
So the fact is, it may be that the rules that Philpott was speaking about, where you needed to have a vote on her expulsion, it's not entirely clear that those rules apply, even though the vote that on the rules with respect to whether there'd be a rule on expulsion was violated. So it's a rule of law question. About 3 years ago, the Liberal caucus ignored the Parliament of Canada Act. The other parties, as far as I know, voted on the rules they wanted and reported it to the Speaker. It appears the Liberals did not do that.
Okay, so when people hear a law was violated or a law was broken, the next question is, what is the penalty for that violation? So if somehow they settle on a mechanism to determine whether or not this act was violated, what could the penalty be, and who would essentially suffer because of it?
This is one of the areas where the average person says, how can you have a law without a remedy? We may have no remedy here. There's a provision in the Act that says the courts can't get involved, and the Speaker signaled in a ruling on Monday on a related issue that he wasn't at all interested in getting involved either. So it's a matter of just public debate, looking at the clear words of the Act and basically saying it's up to parliamentarians, if clear rules apply to them and they don't want to abide by them, including the Prime Minister, the sanction should be sort of a public sanction. Whether it's possible that the Speaker will find a way this time and say, you know what, I've just realized that I wasn't told the whole truth according to section 49.85 when I was supposed to be told the outcome of the votes. I thought there were votes. There were no votes. And he might find that as a way in to, at minimum, stand up and admonish the Prime Minister. Let's see.
Oh, we'll see if that happens. Well, given the history that we've seen over the past few weeks in terms of the committees, they may have been taking direction from the party. They may not. We don't know. But there's a narrative developing out there that there's a certain amount of stonewalling happening. You've been in the House of Commons. When you were a parliamentarian, did you feel that that members of Parliament had the independence that they needed in order to seek out the truth, even if it was a truth that wouldn't make them look good?
The Canadian parliamentary culture is amongst the most rigidly controlled and internally disciplined of any Westminster system, UK, New Zealand, Australia, India, if you compare them all. And so the answer is that you work within real cultural limits. You have all the freedom as an MP to do what you want and say what you want, but you're part of a team. And if your team is highly controlled from the top, then you basically don't have a lot of autonomy.
All right, Craig, we're going to have to leave it there, but we really appreciate your insights today. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Ben.